Okay, so we have a lot of things to look at here. I have arranged my things that I have gathered in order. I have some natural items here. I have I walked around the yard, and I would suggest you do that too. I picked up these really interesting looking catalpa beans. Those would be cool, and there are of course many multiples of those. We took down a tree recently, so I have this nice axe cut piece of wood that's conveniently flat enough that I could incorporate it into any work. I have some pomegranates at various stages and some sage. Those things are going to decompose, but they would decompose slowly, and dried things of course would fare better. This is really fun, and I'm definitely going to use these. I have these eggs that my mom found. I guess they're lizard eggs or something, and I'm going to clean them up, and those would be really delicate. Something like that really has a lot of meaning, whether you're referring to alien lizard eggs, or this life cycle, or the newness, or decay. You can use those in so many different ways. I have an old dictionary, and I'm not suggesting that you destroy books, but if you have some books that are old and yellowed, this would definitely bring a sense of nostalgia to any piece, even if you aren't able to read the words, just the reference, and the paper's really thin, and so it does really well when you glue it or crumple it or anything like that. You can treat it. I have cards, a deck of cards, the Joker, of course, the various face cards could be interesting. Some beads. I have a pair of gloves, so anything that's going to be gloves, tiny bow, things like that are going to be, especially this is going to, like a pair of long gloves, it's going to be anthropomorphic. You could add some suggestions of a human gesture there. You can see how they're laying, so I'm kind of tempted to use those too. You could use doll parts, old toys, whether they're yours or belonging to a child in your family. Here I have a variety of ways that I'm going to attach this, and I know it looks a mess, but I really brought everything out so that I could see and give you some ideas. I have a variety of kinds of glue. Mod Podge is really nice because you can glue under and over and make a varnish. I'm going to be using Gorilla Glue for all of my glue needs. You can use E6000 too. Needle and thread, Velcro. I'm really fond of things like these. I think these are for something to do with livestock gates, but I love them because they're modular. I really like the way they might attach. This kind of tissue paper, because if you use Mod Podge or some other kind of thin glue, you can give a canvas, or what I'm going to use is the inside of a pizza box. I'm going to show you that you can use that and make a canvas for this project. Remember, you can do 2D or you can do 3D. This, if you wanted to use a box, here I have, remember, everything has a meaning. Here I have, as a present for my little boy, it's a tiny Vans box, so, that could mean a lot of things. I could build my whole mixed media project in this box, and it would give the meaning. I could either use the box because I liked its box shape, or I could be using it because I want to illustrate consumerism, even touching the toddler, or, tiny people growing into adults before their age, or something like that. It has a meaning to it that it comes with. I got my basic canvas now, and I can kind of play around with what I want to do. This is kind of a good idea here. I think I'm onto something. Can put give my hands whatever hand they want. So I've got the beginnings of something here. I'm going to think about what this means to me and how I can make this work with an idea that I might have about the world. So I'm thinking about the hands that were dealt in life, and so this is going to be kind of a little thought process. That's what art is to me, is on how we become ourselves, and using the cards that we're dealt, and our own personal evolution in the life that we have. So that's what I'm concentrating on, and all these things are going to be probably have personal meaning for me, but universal also. So the eggs are going to come in handy. I'm going to use a lot of thread because I've done a lot of knitting with metal in my work. So I'm going to incorporate that. You can think of things that are important to you to put into your work. I think that really adds value to it, and you'll enjoy it more. And this is really about enjoying creating something. That you can ball up paper. You can make something primarily 3D. If you're looking to make something primarily 2D with 3D elements like this, so things that you have at your house, a good place to start. And if you're missing some essential item, you can often find things at the dollar store that may be, you may be able to transform into something that has that universal significance, like a hand, or an eye, or a key, or an egg, or things like that. Last night I did some more work. I couldn't resist stuffing tissue paper in the hands, so now they look so much more lifelike, and I can pose them in different ways. So all this is I cut out an oval. Hello, Alf. I cut out an oval on a large piece of paper. You could do this out of cardboard too, and then I took my Mod Podge. Hello, Kitty. So I took some tissue paper and the Mod Podge, and I stuck it on there, and then I took some ink cartridges and I kind of slung it around. So I was using a little bit of Pollock there in my work. It kind of blobbed up a bit more than what I liked, but I really liked the color, and I added a little bit of the browner tissue paper. But now I'm not really happy with this square, so I'm going to cut it into an oval. You see I have these ovals, and I have the eggs that I'm going to add, and it's really turning into a kind of repetition of the new beginnings of life and something to do with the women in my family. So I think the egg motif, echoing it through the piece, is going to work for me. I realized when I was, after working with this a little while, stuffing the hands and working with it at night, you know, on the couch relaxing, and I did this paper background with some ink. I couldn't decide what position to put the hands into. I just really couldn't decide. I have the cards, and I was thinking, do I still want to use those? Do I want to have it like this? Should I have them out? Should they be holding something? And then I remembered these fasteners that I had found earlier. I can cut a slit in the cardboard. It's pretty thin, but then have this out like that and pretty much place them in different ways and have that be a part of the work. So I'm going to kind of look at where it's at, and then use my X-Acto knife to cut a little slit. Bend the ends of these so that they're curved and go around the finger better naturally. working with found objects, even if that are objects that you've collected yourself, so they were really yours. Remember, this was this baby toy, and it's green and polka dotted on the other side. So I used a marker, and I didn't do the greatest job, but I did put a brown patina over it, so that now it goes with the coloring goes with this kind of nostalgic look to it of, you know, things that might have belonged to your great grandmother. And you might have to do that. You might have to change some of the material, paint it, markers, put paper over it, make it so that it's cohesive, so it looks like it goes together. Unless you're working on something where you want to show that things are in juxtaposition or that they clash, they don't go together, then you're going to make that an obvious part of your piece. But do think about it. Think about the combination of things and how they work together. Remember the catalpa beans and the little eggs that I had that were making this project interesting to me? Realized I'm going to use these bean pod halves from the catalpa to look like a nest on the larger egg at the bottom, so I'm going to attach those. This piece I'm probably not going to use at all, so this is the first thing I started off making, but I'm just going to put it aside. It's kind of delicate. I put this contrasting paper behind where I'm going to put the little bird eggs, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see it. I used the Gorilla Glue on these. Again, I had a little bit of trouble. They were already broken, but I broke them a little bit more. But I have enough to where it really adds detail. I have the fallen broken eggs and the whole eggs waiting to hatch. It's going with my thing. Okay, so the Gorilla Glue dried in a kind of foamy substance, and I did not like that. So I'm actually using push pins to pin my beans on here for the nest. And the push pins through, well, they're sewing pins, but you could actually use tacks too. They're working really well. It's really easy, and they're securing it. So that kind of goes along well too with my idea of this nest, because sometimes there are some pointy parts of a safety nest. I have ways I've got these things pinned down. I sewed the cards here together, and then I have them clipped into the hand. I have the hand clipped in with these little brackets that these little guys that I curved and slit the back to put them in, so I'm clamping those in there, and then I'm just going to slide the Joker card in, because sometimes you can really rely a lot on tension, so I'm just going to put him in like that, because it's a very casual gesture in my mind too. So sometimes you might want to secure things more, and sometimes just clipping them on works well. Here's this finished piece, which included a lot of different objects and fasteners, and then this one, which is a lot more simple and just included ink, crayons, as in Prismacolor. Yeah, as well, the flowers were drawn on separate paper, a different kind of paper, very thin transfer paper with Prismacolor, and then the hearts were drawn on the tissue paper that I had glued with Mod Podge to the canvas. So there's several different types of media used there. And then this one, I used a lot of different things. I used pens, I used these fence brackets, mirrors, a play mirror, cards, and found kid gloves, or leather gloves, tissue paper, ink, and red thread, along with some catalpa beans, and found lizard eggs. So a lot of different things that went together to make this.